Hello, everybody, and welcome to Connected Knowledge from Upland Software on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright. This week on the show, I'm talking to Andrea Sabean, a senior account executive here at Upland Software. Now, she brings a wealth of experience in CX, and today we're talking about leveraging new tools for knowledge management, specifically toward elevating and transforming our trusted voice interactions. Welcome, Andrea. It's good to sit down with you today.
Thanks, Pete. I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation because all I hear about right now is AI, chatbot, website identity. I am curious why we're having a conversation about why voice persists as a preferred channel, even with the rise of all these chatbots that are supposed to save the world.
Yeah, AI, definitely a prevalent topic of conversation these days. But voice channel is still there, and it accounts for actually most inbound interactions with contact centers these days. In fact, the transactions that are happening with an agent by voice are the more complex ones. So if you have something complex you want to talk to somebody about, you don't want to be directed to a chatbot and hope that the AI knows what you're talking about. You want to talk to a real person. You want to get your challenge resolved on that first call. You don't want to have to call back again.
I totally get it. And I sometimes think that I get it because I have so much gray in my beard. Is this, demographically speaking, is there any statement we need to be aware of about who uses and trusts voice more than other channels? Or is it really just pretty much everybody? If it's a complex issue, they're going to pick up the phone.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some statistics that, since 2020, we've seen a rise of the preferred channel being voice from 76% to 81%. This is a Salesforce metric. So that doesn't take into account demographic at all. That's just, I want to talk to somebody and get my issue addressed, and it's increasing for the people who are calling.
What makes a strong foundation? Do you find that call center organizations are prepped for the next generation of voice trust tools?
Yeah, I mean, so organizations are evolving their technologies that they've been using for handling calls from large enterprise on-premise telephony systems, moving more toward cloud telephony systems. But even, in our large networked world that we're living in, that call quality can still even be in question. And so we've actually seen a small repatriation to on-premise telephony back from the cloud to, hold that call quality integrity in place. And so, customers or companies who are handling a lot of their transactions that are still voice transactions, and it's, their customers are valued to them, they're considering their technology that will best serve them. That's a weighty consideration for them.
I think that's fascinating. You say it's a small repatriation. Do you have a statistic that frames that for me? How small are we talking about?
I can't remember where we got the statistic, but it was like 14% of folks who'd moved to the cloud were actually coming back to on-premise telephony. Okay,
that actually seems bigger than I even would have expected.
Yeah, I guess. It's not 50%, that's for sure.
It's not 50%. No. But I think that's actually, that's really, really fascinating. And especially because it indicates that at least 14% of those companies are doing the right stuff, right? Focusing on call quality and being able to resolve those issues in a way that is of the highest sort of manner.
That's right. Yep.
So now let's talk about what's going on in call centers, right?
Sure.
Like what's going on in call centers for organizations that prize voice activity? What are they looking to accomplish?
Well, let's go back to AI. You opened with AI. So
I'm
yes,
ready.
AI is definitely a theme across organizations as to what's coming next. How do we use this technology to better serve our customers, deliver excellent customer service for every interaction? And while, you can pull up ChatGPT, get it to write a poem for you, in Mick Jagger speak, let's say.
I'll be doing a showing on my Mick Jagger poetry later. Don't worry about it. I'll send you a link.
Literally, I had a friend do this for somebody's 60th birthday party. I had to read the Mick Jagger one, then they read the real one. I felt like I was set up.
Oh,
but anyway.
Excellent. Yes. A useful tool, I think, is what we call that.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, that just that example for, to talk about that for a second, you don't want to just regurgitate what AI generates. You want a human in the loop to consider what the AI spit out. And that's where, while CTI may not be sort of sexy, it's been around a long time, computer telephony integration, it's under the hood of a lot of contact centers. It actually powers AI because it can bring the voice channel through to the other technologies that a customer's contact center is using, and then tie the two together, throw in an agent intelligence, and then you get really excellent customer service.
Can you? Is it fair to ask for us to zoom in a little bit on the agent experience right now? How can you tell me a story of how CTI, today's and tomorrow's CTI empowers agents to handle more complex inquiries more efficiently than today? What does it actually look like from the perspective of an agent?
Okay, yeah. So a call comes in, and with some technology, depending on what they're using, the agent can know who's calling and why. So, hi, Pete. I see you're calling about your family cell phone plan. Your kids have been streaming data like there's no tomorrow. What can I do for you today?
Thank you. Yeah, that's perfect.
Because when you called, your record popped. It gave me the context of what account or what rate plan you might have with your mobile provider, and I can see the data usage for all the people in your family that are under that plan. And so I've just saved a whole bunch of time interviewing you. Hi, Pete. Can you tell me your 10-digit number that you're calling about today? Okay, thanks. And can you tell me why you're calling about your issue today? Okay, thanks. Instead of all of that interviewing, you get a much better experience as a customer. You get the warm and fuzzies that they know who you are and why you're calling.
What do you wager the actual odds are that this is today's call center versus some future that we have yet to explore? Because I would love to move all of my business to organizations that have the call center that you just described. And yet I find I'm still reading my 10-digit account number over and over and over every time my call gets handed to a new person. I would love to have that. That's the panacea, right? That's the ideal. And I'm curious how are our foundational, call quality issues going to transition into real benefit from the CTI perspective?
Well, you need to tie together your technology. You need to let your agents know who's calling and why before they have to ask why. And again, that's literally a matter of, finding what works for given organization's technology. There are options. You can take your existing sort of legacy technology. You can integrate it with your customer management database. You can, blow the budget and go for a fully rip and replace solution where you completely transform the technology that the agents are using. Or you can do kind of a mix. You can use some existing technology and connect it with some newer technology, like, for example, with the scenario that we were talking about where I know why you're calling, but, you throw in some AI to that next part of that conversation with, okay, so you're calling about your rate plan. Well, all of a sudden, AI is actually listening to the transcription of the call. It hears the voice channel. The voice is transitioned into text. And now we're running text into an AI model. And it says, oh, Pete's got a family. It's hearing context to the conversation that we're having. Pete's got a family. He's on a family plan. There's a data issue. Okay, here, agent, I'm going to tell you to suggest to Pete this new package that we have on promotion for, Canadian Thanksgiving, for example.
Sure.
And now you're not going to have a problem with your bills being monster at the end of each month if your kids do too much streaming, because we can get you on a plan that's going to support your usage. And that's because that was all empowered by AI and an agent tying together what Pete's saying, but also what the system is recommending as per what it hears by the voice transcription.
I imagine there are call center managers who hear you say, you could do rip and replace, and say, well, Andrea's a sociopath. That's hard to do. I'm curious how we bridge the gap in the most, like when you see these competing kind of interests in moving the technology forward, what makes the smartest case to decision makers, right? What is it where are there pain points that they're considering? We've got we've got all sorts of call stats. We've got agent wellness stats, I imagine, retention stats. Can you talk through some of the considerations?
Yeah, agent onboarding and retention and wellness is definitely a big consideration. And of course, key performance indicators that you talked about. So average handle time, first call resolution, those kinds of categories. So, on the agent wellness side of things, if you had to sit in a classroom for 6 weeks and memorize a 4-inch binder, or the virtual equivalent of a 4-inch binder of a standard operating procedure guide, and you came out and you started to do the job, and then you realized the 6 weeks wasn't long enough. You don't nearly have all the resources that you could, and there's no knowledge base that you can reference besides some maybe very disorganized file sharing site. That's not a great work environment. But if you show an agent how to access information, to answer the questions that their customers are going to ask them as part of that onboarding and agent training, and then you provide them that tool so that they can use it while they're on the job, so that they can look things up as they mature in their tenure. They're not going to need to look up the same stuff month 1 as they will need to look things up in month 6 or year 1 or year 3, right? So you can take their journey as an agent, as an employee of your contact center, to evolve with their level of sophistication and provide them the knowledge that they're going to need when they need it, and keep it current. And so that that they've read it, kind of keep an audit trail of, we've updated this chunk of our guides, and we saw that 99% of all of our agents have gone in and reviewed that content. So we're very confident that we can deliver that new level of service.
How are you tracking those insights? I mean, do you have the data on customer experiences that are integrating these things and are telling you, like, look at what's happening to our agents? They're amazing, and some of them actually glow a little bit when they come into work.
Yeah. I mean, whether you're doing telephony integration or knowledge management, the tools that are on offer all have that ability to track that data, track the performance. Yeah. I mean, from a call perspective, you can see the length of the call. You can see, has it been escalated? You can use that data to help with agent coaching. So, if you see a particular agent continuously escalates a particular kind of call, you can give them directed coaching, based on that data. And then on the knowledge side of things, you can see who's accessing different knowledge articles. And you can actually start to see some people may even be creating content for an organization because they have the tribal knowledge all in their head, and you give them a tool to be able to download it into. And then all of a sudden now, we have a virtual water cooler these days called Teams or Slack or whatever,
Sure.
But they become less popular in that channel because they have a place where they can share that knowledge. And employees know that other agents know that they can go and look for that knowledge in that place instead of, having to go call that one agent who kind of seems to know everything because they've been around the longest. And that frees that person up to do better at their own job instead of sort of back training everybody else that's maybe not really their responsibility.
Right. It seems like such a an important reminder that there is nothing more motivating than feeling success day to day, than feeling like you've been able to help someone thoroughly and competently. And it sounds to me like these technologies are enabling technologies for exactly that end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. In addition to, I mean, we always talk about there's like customer experience forums and everything CX and what's the customer experience going to be. But I always think about it as the agent and the customer experience, because it's the person, it's a two-ended interaction here. And so you want both to have a great outcome from an interaction.
So I want to dive just a little bit back into my Andrea might be a sociopath for her recommendations question. Let's talk about integration. How can you integrate CTI on your legacy voice systems, minimizing disruption? Like, do you have a strategy? What do you tell me as a call center manager who's interested in making some change?
Yeah, I mean, so the ability to take your existing telephony and your existing, customer system of record, your CRM, and connect them is what we excel at, essentially. The offering that Upland has for that CTI product, Ingenious, is it's meant to sort of live and let live on both ends. So you've spent, in some cases, years configuring, a large enterprise telephony system, perhaps like, Genesis Engage or others of that genre. And you don't want to see, especially your IT team or your telephony admin team, don't want to see that interfered with. And then on the other side, on the Salesforce side of things, or Microsoft Dynamics, or even ServiceNow, there's going to be a lot of front-end work on that, how you're going to manage all your customer data, the workflows around that. The excellent thing about Ingenious is that it has the ability to sit in between the two, act like a remote control for your phone, pass data back and forth without storing any data, so it's not a heavy database, and it just lets both systems exist as they've been configured over all these years, because it usually does take years to get them dialed in really well. But it connects the two and it passes that data back and forth seamlessly.
Just like that, you go and totally redeem yourself.
So the investments that you've made on those two big systems, we protect
They're just working.
Yeah, they just carry on working, but now they're talking to each other. And you've upped the game because now you have all that data in Salesforce where you can report on all of it with the reporting engine that exists there.
I'm very excited to hear more about some of the newest features that are coming with Ingenious specifically, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But can you tell me a little bit about, do you have a case example of a company that has run this integration? I want to know, like, beyond the metrics, what qualitative improvements does a company that embraces CTI from legacy systems see in terms of customer sat, right, or agent morale?
Great question. And the couple examples that come to mind, there's a customer of ours, Medgate, who's been using Ingenious for years and years. I want to say going back to 2017, which does feel like years and years.
Yeah, right.
But, they've been able to, they had Ingenious during an interesting time through the pandemic. Medgate, what they do is they have a contact center that handles the bookings for doctors all over Europe. So they were actually able to increase their capacity of handling how many appointments they could book every day significantly. And then, of course, I don't know exactly what happened for the focus period of during the pandemic, but everybody was only booking things virtually. Yeah. So, they were well positioned to handle that dramatic shift that we saw during the pandemic. We have another customer who's using who's in the environmental and waste management space, who's using Ingenious they've actually changed the game a little bit. It's kind of interesting. They've shifted from having customers call them to having customers call and they allow for a callback. So instead of sitting on the phone waiting for 15 minutes, the process is now to have that call ring to your phone when the agent's available to talk to you. And they planned
just as a default experience.
Just as a default experience.
I don't even have a choice to wait if I want to. They'll just call me back. That's fantastic.
That's right. Yeah, they've shifted it. And then that's what they decided they wanted their customer experience to be. And they estimate that they're going to save 5 million calls in a year, which is huge. Because, you're not going to have Pete calling, hanging up, calling again, agent's not available, hanging up. And all this is going through their IVR, and you might wait on hold and you might hang up. And so, they're going to see a big shift in their behaviors to their customers in the next year.
Okay, let's talk then. Give me some specifics about Ingenious. Ingenious is a fantastic product, and you've got some new things coming out around Ingenious that are going to be really helpful for folks. So what do we have? What is Ingenious, and what do we have to look forward to?
Yeah, okay. Well, Ingenious has the ability to support, I've been talking about Salesforce, but of course we support Microsoft Dynamics as well as ServiceNow. So, more from ServiceNow is more from maybe an IT service desk perspective, but they also have their HR angle and customer angle as well. So if you've got any of those views on your customer data, we can support that. And we can integrate those with Genesys, Cisco, Avaya, and Asterisk. And we have a couple of different flavors that we can support. As we sit today, we can integrate Salesforce with Genesys Cloud to support Service Cloud Voice in Salesforce. And so that brings through the call transcription from Genesys Cloud and feeds it into Salesforce Service Cloud Voice Engine, which then can leverage the Einstein AI and give agents that next best action commentary that we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And we now have the ability to support Genesys Engage transcription into Salesforce. And so that's a bit of a game changer, because that is a very prevalent legacy monster platform where people they're aware that there's potentially a end of life coming up for that, and they're looking at how to maximize that investment before they have to move off of it. So Ingenious can significantly help with that by bringing what would be old tech, but we can bring it together with AI and breathe new life into it and get more value out of it before you have to say goodbye to it.
Now, boil it back down to I'm an agent. What do I see with the benefits of Ingenious's approach? And really, I want to celebrate the human element behind the AI. These should unleash new powers for me as an agent, right?
As an agent working in a contact center, if you have to interview people the entire shift, that's tedious. That's not something that I would sign up for, frankly. I'd want to work for a company that has the technology. This is not difficult technology. Tell me who's calling and why, and then I can put my time to good use as I'm helping these customers and really give them a great experience. That's what I want to deliver as an agent. I don't want to be, in the doldrums, repeating myself day in, day out, and then taking extra time to get to the core of the conversation with that customer who's calling in. If they're already upset about something, do you think that an extra couple of minutes with me, asking them questions, like you say, asking for your 10-digit account number again, do you think that's going to help with the warm start to the conversation? Not really. So that's just going to give agents, it's going to deliver to them happier customers at a starting point, and then it's up to them to best solve that customer's query. And so it's really just giving them, the tool that they need to do that, just to have a warm start to that conversation. Also, I always call this the sleeper benefit, though, is the reporting data that's available once we log all the calls into the CRM, because that data, it may not be available today. It likely is not available today. If a customer doesn't have their telephony connected with their customer data, they can't see who's calling and why, and then just run a big report about everybody who's calling and why. And guess what? If I know who's calling and why they're calling, and hey, look, there's a whole bunch of call categories that's like, hey, this would be great to put in an online portal. I bet you a customer would love to just be able to look this up online. So now I can actually start to build out my knowledge base that's customer facing to say, here's some data that you guys are calling a lot about. It's easy. We've made a document about it. Now you can go look it up. And you can call now for the more complex issues. And again, you're putting that agent's time to better use. You're getting them to, problem solve, not deliver rote knowledge.
Okay, as we get toward wrapping up, I have two more questions. The first one is now we've talked about the call center perspective and the agent perspective, and everybody's well taken care of and everything's great. And we want to make a better experience for customers by essentially knowing what they're calling about, what they may be talking about, because we have this robust data history on them.
Yeah.
What is your perspective on customer trust when they are met with, oh, I already know who you are and why you're calling? And I ask because my mom is a septuagenarian with trust issues and thinks that people are listening in her house when she calls the gas company and they tell her certain things that they do already know about her and her case. I'm wondering if that is, if we're still at the sort of the left end of the bell curve in terms of teaching people what is reasonable to expect from their call center experience. And what's the responsibility of the call center to teach them that?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I would say you're going to have, like you said earlier, you're sick of entering your 10-digit phone number when you've called into places. So It's going to be your experience. I mean, I have a pizza place that when I call, they know what my Friday night pizza order is. And they say, hi, we'll send the pizza in 40 minutes. I'm like, great, talk to you later. And I love it. And I trust that they know what I want because they've delivered my order accurately. I think only once in many years did they ever screw it up. It's gonna be based on people's experiences.
Yeah.
And to your question about what's the responsibility of the contact center, that's a good question. I think as agents interact with people who may be less trusting, they'll be able to answer the questions about why. How do you know that about me? Oh well, I can see. I can see that it's you when you call. And so hopefully those agents who might get those questions or hear that reservation in people's voices, hopefully they'll be able to put them at ease by explaining, no, Big Brother's not watching. We just have smart systems that can tie the data together so that we can help you more quickly and more efficiently.
I think that's fascinating. The cultural sort of sociological perspective of meeting somebody at the call center is fascinating to me. I think my hunch is your pizza example is just right on. If you go out and tell people, your call center knows a lot about you and all the data that about your history with the company, they say, I don't want them tracking all my data. And then when you say, but you won't have to enter your number all the time, your account number all the time when you call. Oh yeah, I want that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like
and
the
that's
practical answer is, I know what I want.
Yeah, I don't need your social insurance number. And I'm in Canada, so that's my reference point. But hey, if you can tell me, that you saw the payment go through when I call, or give me an automated commentary about that, and it makes my interaction with you more brief, so that I don't have to hang around on hold forever. Then that's the kind of stuff that I do want. I want my service providers to be able to share with me.
Give me a 5-year prediction from right now. Where are we going from here? It seems like we're in a brave new world of AI implementation and seeing what we can achieve. What will we achieve?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, AI it's been around a long time, really, but the availability of it is now, very broad. The cost is still rather high. So you're going to see those folks who are the early adopters. You see this really with any technology. But so I think where we're going to be in 5 years is probably in a similar place where experiences across contact centers vary because of the technologies in place at those companies. There's not going to be a magic pill that everyone's going to take, and all of a sudden we're all going to be experiencing the same interactions with the companies that we get services from or products. They're going to journey according to their tolerance levels or trust levels. AI has to learn to be able to teach, basically, to be able to say something back, right? And how's it going to learn? Who's going to teach it? Is it companies that are going to share their own internal data? Or is it going to be third parties that are sharing data globally, like there are already? And so, being aware of that when it comes to AI, when you're an organization looking to, evolve, you need to be aware of those considerations so as we were talking about, your 70-year-old parents do feel comfortable that no, their data is not everywhere. It's just within that company. And that's okay because they're paying for a service or a product from that company.
They can be taught, if I have learned nothing. Even
they can be taught.
Even my mom can be taught. Thank you so much, Andrea Sabean. So where do you want to send people? We want people to learn more about Ingenious for sure. So I've got some links in the show notes.
Okay.
What's the best way to get acquainted with Ingenious? What do you recommend?
I'd love to talk to people, frankly, about what it is that they are trying to accomplish, where they are today, and how we can journey with them to get them to where they want to be. Because there are steps along this road that we can help with. Other than that, our website obviously has some high level information to start off with, and we have the ability to show demos of how Ingenious can work with what they have, how Ingenious can support what they might want to go to, if they do want to do that rip and replace, if they are feeling, as we talked about earlier, psychopathic. But no, seriously, a conversation is always the best place to start, I find. Because again, as I said, it might be sort of under the hood technology. We didn't talk much about it, the technology part of it, in this last 30 minutes. There's a lot of experience on the line to talk about agent and customer and just general business targets for KPIs and for savings and spending your money in an efficient way to deliver the best service that you can.
Andrea Sabean, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Pete. Appreciate your time. Cheers.
And thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to this show. We appreciate your time and your attention. Again, swipe up in those show notes to learn more about Ingenious and about what we have on offer at Upland. You just swipe up there. You'll also find an opportunity to send us some feedback. You can send us questions, and I will get those questions to whomever you want to talk to. You got a question for Andrea? I will make sure that question gets to Andrea. We'll answer it on a future show. On behalf of Andrea Sabean, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next time on Connected Knowledge.